Hey folks, want to come on here and shoot a quick solo podcast. This one's going to be about a book called Legacy, the international bestseller with a new introduction, unputdownable Bloomberg, what the All Blacks can teach us about the business of life. Seminal the Times, inspirational Matthew Side. The author is called James Kerr. Here's the front, side, bit in the back. When you're on top of your game, change your game. In the internationally best-selling Legacy, James Kerr goes deep into the heart of the world's most successful sporting team, the legendary All Blacks of New Zealand, to reveal 15 powerful and practical lessons for leadership. Legacy is a unique, inspiring handbook for leaders in all fields, and ask how do the best in the world stay the best in the world? Question mark. What are the secrets of sustained success? There's another question mark. How do you maintain exceptional standards day after day, week after week, and year after year? And how do you turn vision into action, purpose into practice, and pressure into results? What will your legacy be? The best book on leadership and winning I've ever read, Piers Morgan. Beautifully written, wonderfully observed, true to the bone. This book is both intelligent and insightful. The perfect, quote, how-to, end quote, manual for effective leadership. Read it. Anton Oliver, former All Blacks captain, deceptively straightforward, totally brilliant. Stan McChrystal, former commander of the US Forces, Afghanistan, and partner at the McChrystal Group. For those searching for genuine keys to team culture, it is manna from heaven. Daily Telegraph. I'm pretty sure it's McChrystal. Let me just double check. Yes, all good. I read this book in around, I think it was 2020 or 2019. I have to just double check. One sec. No, I can't seem to find the receipt, but you'll have to take my word. I've mentioned it a number of times, from TikTok videos, or videos, excuse me, to maybe a YouTube. However, it's a super fascinating read, and one that subconsciously, I think, really stuck with me. There's something important there that I want to talk about. Number one, this is for a business context, also leadership, sporting or sport, in particular, probably rugby union or rugby, maybe not just union, league as well, so rugby. So we'll get into it. And something just jumps off the page at me. It's just, let me just reiterate what. How do the best in the world stay the best in the world? What are the secrets of sustained success? How do you maintain exceptional standards? We talked about that in, I think it's episode 37 on excellence, high standards, day after day, week after week, year after year. And how do you turn action into vision, purpose into practice, and pressure? We already did a podcast number 26 on pressure. How do you turn that into results? So we're building on mindset. I wanted to do a podcast maybe specifically. I know Brian Kingston, number 6, was a bit about leadership. He's a coach in the subject, or was, or so you can go back and check that out. But rugby keeps coming up as a common topic of the show. Sport, hopefully in the future we'll expand it a bit. Business is the category, and then, yeah, we'll get into it. There's some leadership, so super exciting. Yes, Legacy by James Kerr is a well-known leadership and self-development book, often subtitled 15 Lessons in Leadership. About the book, titled Legacy, author James Kerr published 2013 10th anniversary edition, also available genre leadership business / personal development, leadership / business / personal development. Focus what makes teams and organizations truly successful over the long term. What it's about, Legacy draws lessons from the All Blacks, New Zealand's legendary rugby team, to explore how world-class performance is sustained. I love that concept of sustaining it rather than just at once off. Kerr uses stories, traditions, almost like longevity, which you talked about, but that was in the context of the longevity economy. But yeah, a sustained, your world class performance is sustained. That's, yeah. Kerr uses stories, traditions, and leadership philosophy from the All Blacks to show how principles like purpose, discipline, culture, and personal accountability build lasting success. Key themes summarized: champions do extra, success requires going beyond what's expected. Culture matters, the behaviors and values shared in a group define its performance. We talked about performance on podcast number 25. Want to go back and listen to it. Leadership and legacy. Great leaders think about think about what they leave behind, not just short-term wins. Excuse me if I fumble a bit my words. It is 11:17 p.m. 23:17 on December 23rd. So Merry Christmas, but we'll get this done. Continual improvement, learning, and reflection are ongoing process, almost like Kaizen. Kaizen trademark means improvement. Moreover, it means continuing improvement, like in personal life, home life, social life, and work life. When applied to the workplace, Kaizen trademark means continuing improvement involving everyone, managers and workers alike. Masaki Ima, founder of Kaizen Institute. Kaizen is an approach to creating continuous improvement based on the idea that small, ongoing positive changes can reap significant improvements. This follows up nicely on, if we go back to episode 67, which discussed about less is more. The title, to be accurate, Embracing the Less is More philosophy. Also nicely with the, I think it's the leadership one. Not the leadership, excuse me, the 37 again. The pursuit of excellence, key principles. Yeah, anyway, we'll continue. In Legacy, James Kerr explores, this is Gemini, by the way, Google. James Kerr explores the culture of the New Zealand All Blacks, the most successful sports team in history, to extract 15 powerful leadership lessons, which we get into, after a period of decline in 2004. The team underwent a massive cultural shift that focused on character, humility, and a, quote, higher purpose, end quote, beyond just winning. The book is famously summarized by its, quote, first 15, end quote, 15 core principles that can be applied to business, sports, and personal life. The 15 lessons of leadership. Number 1, sweep the sheds. Humility. No one is too big to do small things. After matches, the senior players literally sweep the locker room. Number 2, go for the gap. Adaptation. When you're on top of your game, change your game. Avoid complacency by constantly evolving. Play with purpose. The quote, why, and there's a period or full stop, end quote. Better people make better All Blacks. Connect your personal meaning to a higher goal. Number 4, pass the ball. Shared leadership. Leaders create leaders. Empower others to take responsibility and make decisions. I noticed the concept of a leadership team, which you may get into, or co-CEOs, which has been Spotify announced, or I think Warby Parker has that concept, or has that structure as well, which is an e-commerce company based predominantly in the US, but they may ship globally. Distributing eyewear, affordable, stylish glasses with a strong omni-channel presence, blending online and offline, and innovative tech like virtual try-on, VTO, and AI. Warby Parker's e-commerce success. And then there is the Warby Parker's co-CEOs and co-founders are Neil Blumenthal and David Gilboa. Correct, I think it is. Who started the eyewear company in 2010 with a vision to disrupt the optical industry with affordable, stylish glasses. blending strong e-commerce roots with significant physical retail expansion and a focus on social impact. Also, we talked about the Spotify. Spotify will have two co-CEOs, Alex Normstrom and Gustav Soderstrom. Hopefully I got that correct. I believe it's Swedish. You can go back and listen to the podcast in Sweden if you want. Number 33. Starting January 1st, 2026, taking over from founder Daniel Ek, who transitions to executive chairman to focus on long-term strategy while remaining deeply involved in major decisions. As reported by the New York Times, Spotify's newsroom, CNBC, and Forbes in late 2025. Soderstrom, bracket product and tech, and bracket, and Nordstrom business. Hopefully I got that. Yeah, hope it's all good. There's two dots over the O, but we went into that in podcast 33. I think there's a name for it. The letter O with umlaut represents a unique vowel sound in German, Swedish, and other language, roughly between an English, I know we're going off topic here, quote A, end quote, and O, quotation mark, end quote, or like the French O or ouf, often described as saying, quote, E, as in the day, as in, quote, day, end quote, with rounded lips or a clipped, quote, sound. It has short and long versions, neither of which has a perfect English equivalent, but it's a rounded front vowel, similar to a French, quote, EU, end quote, or the vowel in, quote, bird, comma, end quote, but with more rounded lips. Yes, that was number 4, pass the ball. Number 5, create a learning environment, mastery. Leaders or teachers focus on, quote, marginal gains, end quote, improving 100 things by 1%. Love that. That's something that really resonates from when I used to be a bit more involved in finishing up my undergrad in TU Dublin and business school and Trinity, Trinity Business School, and then in Google. These are principles that I applied, or lessons. No dickheads, character, select for character over talent. A single toxic individual can destroy a high-performance culture. Embrace expectations, high standards, aim for the, quote, highest cloud, end quote. Fear of failure is a powerful motivator if harnessed correctly. Travel to win, intensity. Practice under pressure so that peak performance becomes automatic during the, quote, game, end quote. Keep a blue head. Composure, switch from a, quote, redhead, end quote, anxious, aggressive, their brackets, to a blue head. That's a quotation mark, blue head, end quote, calm, clear, focused, end bracket, under stress. Know thyself, authenticity. High performance starts with honesty. Be genuine and stay true to your values. Sacrifice, extra effort. Champions do more. Find something you'd, quote, give your life for, end quote, and commit fully to it. Invent a language, identity. Use shared stories, rituals, and mantras to create a unique and binding team culture. Number 13, ritualize to actualize consistency. Use rituals, quote, like the haka, end quote, to turn abstract values into physical, lived experiences. 14, be a good ancestor. Legacy, quote, there's a full stop after legacy, the full stop, yeah, all good. Quote, plant trees you'll never see, end quote. Your job is to leave the jersey in a better place than you found it. Number 15, write your legacy. Ownership, you are the author of your own story. What contribution will you leave behind? Core philosophy, better people make better All Blacks. Kerr argues that the All Blacks, their quotation marks, which I'll stop now on the quotations. Kerr argues that the All Blacks' competitive advantage isn't their physical skill, but their narrative. By focusing on the Maori concept of waka papa, genealogy/lineage, players realize they are just stewards of a legacy. They are thought that they don't, quote, own, end quote, the jersey. They merely hold it for a time and must improve it for the next generation. Quote, a collection of talented individuals without personal discipline will ultimately and inevitably fail. Character triumphs over talent, end quote. Love that. If there's one final defining image to take away from legacy, it is the concept of, quote, the empty jersey, end quote. In the All Black culture, there's a famous saying, quote, leave the jersey in a better place, end quote. When a player is selected for the team, they are given a jersey that has been worn by legends for over a century. They are thought that they do not own that jersey. They are merely its temporary caretaker, which we briefly touched upon this or got into it. Their entire career is framed as a mission to add to its history so that the next person to wear it inherits something even more valuable. Why this matters for you? The mindset shifts your perspective from success, this is a bracket which is personal and temporary, end bracket, to significance, bracket which is communal and lasting, end bracket. It asks you to consider the stewardship. How are you treating the role you currently hold? The contribution, what are you adding to your company, family, or community that wasn't there before? The ancestry, what will people say about, quote, culture, end quote, you left behind once you move on, question mark. By, quote, planting trees you will never see, end quote, you find a level of motivation that simple trophies or paychecks can never provide. You aren't just working for yourself anymore, you are working for the legacy. Move on. I wanted to talk about the whole concept around the empty jersey and leave the jersey in a better place. You can apply that almost in a business context. Just do a quick example. I know we are 17 minutes over 15, but in a business context, one sec. Legacy is often treated as, this is Gemini and Google, quote, culture Bible, end quote, for high growth startups and Fortune 500 companies. Like Google and Formula One are known fans. Interesting. It moves leadership away from, quote, command and control, end quote, towards collective accountability. And it goes into here is how those 15 principles translate in a professional environment. Maybe we can make it, maybe just get into it a bit. Number one, we talked about sweep the sheds already culture. In business, this means killing the it's not my job mentality, which, yeah, maybe in moderation or maybe extremes. The application when a CEO picks up trash in the break room or a senior VP stays late to help an intern with a spreadsheet, it sends a message that the mission is more important than the title. The goal to prevent, quote, entitlement trap, end quote, that often destroys successful companies. Number two, no dickheads. Character over talent. This is perhaps the most famous business takeaway. Kerr argues that one high-performing, quote, toxic, end quote, person can ruin a team's output. The application modern HR teams use this to screen for cultural fit. It is better to have a slightly less talented person who is a, quote, force multiplier, end quote, for others than a, quote, brilliant jerk, end quote, who demoralizes the office. Three, redhead versus bluehead. Decision making under pressure. This is a mental framework for high stakes environments like sales or trading or crisis management. Redhead, tight, anxious, aggressive, and overwhelmed. You lose the, quote, big picture, end quote. Bluehead, calm, clear, and focus on the task. not the result. The application team creates, quote, ancestors or anchors, end quote, small physical triggers or mantras to pull themselves back into, quote, blue head, end quote, during a high pressure board meeting or a product launch failure. 4 leaders create leaders, pass the ball. The All Blacks move the leadership from the coaches to the players as the week progresses. By Saturday game day, the players are in total control. The application, instead of micromanaging, leaders should focus on intent. If the team knows the why and the goal, they should have the autonomy to decide how. The goal, creating a distributed leadership model where every employee feels responsible for the company's success. 5 marginal gains, 100 things, 1% better, borrowed from the concept of Kaizen. Kerr emphasizes that excellence isn't one giant leap, but a series of tiny daily improvements, which we talked about in podcast 37. The application in a business, this might mean improving the speed of meetings by 1%, making the email tone 1% clearer, or reducing software bugs by 1%. The result, over a year, these tiny gains compound into massive competitive advantage. The rugby context, the haka corporate ritual, create a meaningful way to start and end your day that reinforces your values. The Black Book, the culture code, document your, quote, unwritten rules so new hires know exactly what is expected. Waka Papa, company heritage, connect your team's work to the long-term history and future of the company. I suppose this is going on a bit over 15, but if there's one thing to take from this book is that the core philosophy is better people make better All Blacks, which is super interesting. There's many takeaways in those 15 lessons. But yeah, Kerr argues that the All Blacks' competitive advantage isn't their physical skill, but their narrative, by focusing on the Maori concept of Waka Papa, which you talked about. Hopefully that's correct. Genealogy/lineage, players realize they are just stewards of a legacy. They are thought they don't, quote, own the jersey, they merely hold it for a time and must improve for the next generation. A collection of talented individuals without personal discipline will ultimately and inevitably fail. Character triumphs over talent. I suppose in January, there's one thing you can apply from this book. Maybe it's one of the principles, or maybe you can reach out to James himself. He'll be able to go in, probably give a talk or more explanation. Or you can buy the book for Christmas. Thanks for listening, folks. Have a great one.